Hey houseplant friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ashley and you're watching Planting Ashley on YouTube channel. And because I make YouTube videos on the YouTube website, I'm gonna make a YouTube video right now. Welcome. Today I'm gonna be telling you, I'm starting this series and I haven't come up with a name for it yet. Why I didn't put a name for it on the schedule, which if you didn't know, I post a schedule to my community and in my Discord. It's like my community page on YouTube and also in my Discord now every Sunday, Saturday or Sunday, so that you can see the videos which are gonna be coming out. This week, I have a surprise video right on Wednesday, which is the day you're watching this. I am still trying to decide on a name for this series, but what the series is gonna be is me telling you and showing you photos of currently popular rare plants. Well, not even rare plants, just this one is kind of just ended up being that way because of the nature of what this video is, but I want to tell you about different types of plants and also the ones of different qualities. So I want to be able to make a video on what's popular and then variegated philodendron and then non-variegated philodendron and velvet philodendron, and my goal is to put out one of these videos every single week on every single Wednesday so that you always know we're gonna have one of these videos at this time, which I think will be fun, but who knows? Maybe you'll all hate it and I'll stop doing it. Before we get started, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I got it. Hold on, I have to take these stakes out. I just whacked my pink princess via the stick like 3 times. Leave a permanent comment, even if it's just an emoji if you can. Please join my Discord. I've been convincing you guys very slowly to join the Discord. It is a really great time. I'm putting a lot of work into this. I'm putting a lot of work into everything, you guys. I have a whiteboard calendar, a calendar in my book. Look at this. Do you see all these colors here? I just need you guys to understand. I am like losing my mind trying to be productive and get videos out Monday through Friday. And I'm doing the sketch, you guys, I'm doing so much. I really hope you're proud of me. I've repotted all of my plants. And over the course of this month, I'm releasing 3 or 4, depending on how long this video comes out, which is coming out tomorrow for you. I had 7 hours of footage of repotting. So I wanna do 1 giga video where it's like, I don't know, like a 2-hour long repot, which I'm kinda hoping, sorry, is tomorrow. I'm just literally whacking my plants. And I'm not gonna burn myself out, you guys. I'm gonna be telling you about the popular variegated philodendron. I have a list here. I'm not gonna be talking about all these plants. I'm only gonna be talking about 9 plants specifically. I'm gonna list the names of the plants for you that I am not gonna be talking about. Philodendron Florida Beauty, Philodendron ilsamanii, Philodendron White Princess, Philodendron White Knight, White Wizard, Red Anderson, Variegated Domesticum, Ring of Fire, Variegated Pedatum, Snowdrift, Whipaway, Red Moon, Moonlight, Jungle Fever, Hederaceum variegata, Variegated Bipenifolium, Variegated Wend Imbi, which is not an ilsamanii, Golden Dragon, which is a variegated one, it's just not in the name, Paradiso Verde, Variegated Melanochrysum, and Variegated Ubii. Those are all the ones we're not talking about in this video. If you heard all those names and you're like, those are all popular, I know, but they're not the most popular, and we're gonna talk about the most popular variegated philodendrons in this video. I only have 2 of these plants, and what I've done is I have sourced photos from Instagram that actually include each of the poster's handles at the top of the photo. And inside of my description box down below, I am going to be linking you to every single Instagram that I featured. So in case you liked a photo and you want to check out more of that person's content, you absolutely can. The first one we're going to talk about, I do actually have, and in my opinion right now, this is the most popular variegated philodendron. This plant is going to be the Micans aurea, and the Micans aurea is a plant that really took kind of this whole last year by storm. I'm gonna tell you what I remember as being the origin of this plant, but I believe that either someone in the States either purchased from another country and had it sent to them, or they had the mutation themselves sometime last year or a year and a half ago. They had a Micans which started producing internal variegation on the leaf, which was presenting as yellow, pink, cream, white, translucent, and a bunch of other little light shades of green. This is a different plant than the Micans halo, which has external variegation and is very lightly variegated, and they don't present in the same way at all. It's a completely different style. And I also have a halo, so I will be able to show you the differences between the two of them. Micans aurea began selling once it started making its rounds at around $500 to $700, which for the current plant market was really surprising. And when I say current, I mean in the last year that this plant has kind of been making its rounds, because all of the plants have become so affordable. And then all of a sudden there's this like variegated Micans aurea for a absolutely ridiculous amount of money that no one was paying for almost any other plant unless it was like a specialty Hoya or, you know, specialty Anthurium. Philodendron and Monstera and all those ones have just kind of like dropped off in price a lot. Micans aurea now, depending on your area and the seller, you can find it anywhere from what I've seen is the lowest at $60 for one leaf of a fresh cut, up to $300 to $400 that also has new growth coming in and it's potted. And I feel like the most common price range I've been seeing is right around $100 to $200. And if it's one leaf, just a little bit less than 100. And again, it does depend on if you're purchasing from a local person. For example, in my area, plants are probably 50% cheaper than in any other area by massively cheaper. When I was in Arizona last, actually in May, there was a pretty large plant from this plant store named the Plant Bodega, and it was around $250 for like 6 leaves of a gorgeously variegated Micans. And I tried to convince my mom into buying it for herself because I already had one. I got mine as a one leaf cutting and I've grown it in. Despite the neglect it got, this plant is really hardy because I really ignored it for like a month and a half. And I got it, like I said, as one leaf, and now I've grown it into 4, and it's actually also putting out another new leaf right now. I've just air layered it, but the plant is really, really gorgeous. It features a bunch of different colors, and there are some people that are trying to filter their variegated Micans aurea to become more of a pink Micans, and so you'll see variegated pink Micans now, or just pink Micans. And be really careful with whether or not you're just getting a really sun-stressed normal Micans, which if that's what you want, totally okay, but make sure you're not buying one for the price of a Micans aurea, because you could just sun-stress your own Micans and then have a pink Micans that way. This is probably one of my favorite plants in my collection that I own, and I only have 70 plants right now. I actually just counted today. I have 70 plants, which also includes cuttings that I have. It's hard to pick favorites because I've whittled my collection down so much that it's just like everything is kind of my favorite. This plant is incredibly popular and it's still circulating a lot. Price is plummeting pretty fast in comparison to the plant market in the last like 4 years. I feel like from 2019, we hit our peak of plant prices in late 2020 and early spring 2021. And then the plant prices kind of started to go down, but we haven't seen a total decline in plant prices until this year, 2023. And I currently feel like we're actually moving back up in prices again. I saw Gloriosums come down all the way to like $10, and now I can't find a single normal Gloriosum listing for less than $50, which is crazy. Like for a one that's not small, right? For a like decently sized Gloriosum. So I kind of feel like we're actually going back up, which is interesting. This plant is only going down in price, and that's because Micans grow really fast, and this specific Micans is not really inhibited by its variegation, because most of the variegation on the Micans aurea is actually not white variegation, yellow and pink and orange, and it's very reminiscent actually of strawberry shake or like variegated Red Congo colors, so very like bright and vibrant and not just like that white, because of the fact that it still grows really fast and everyone is passing it around because everyone wants to make money, because it's one of the only plants right now that you can kind of like get and then grow and then prop and then get out again within like 2 months. It's being passed around a lot, and multiple people in my area sell them. That's a little bit about the Micans aurea. If you have any more questions about it, you can, for all of these plants, link a time code so that I can kind of like easily see what you're talking about. Yep, Micans aurea, and then I know I showed you photos, but let me just show you mine so you can see what it's doing. This is translucent and white variegation, by the way. It is super gorgeous. Yeah, it just looks really nice. And I got this, oh, look at this cute pot I got. I put this, it's like my favorite, one of my favorite plants right now, so I put it in one of my cutest pots. But yeah, this new leaf definitely has the best variegation out of my last few leaves, and I like how the last leaf had a lot of yellow, and then this one's like translucent. So here's a comparison. This is a halo. So you can see the variegation is very like linear and small, and mostly concentrated along the outside. The next plant we're going to talk about is the Spiritus Sancti variegata, and this plant is brand new to the market. This plant, I gotta go back and find when Red Leaf Exotics first posted about it, because that's where the plant came from. Is one guy who through something or other ended up getting and growing in multiple plants of variegated Spiritus Sancti that he then like propagated as well and pre-sold. I believe that the most expensive one that at least was public knowledge sold for like $45,000 or $50,000, and that was back when the plants were first sold, probably a little less than a year ago, but maybe I'm mixing up my time and it's maybe been a little bit more than a year. Spiritus Sancti, the normal variety, has kind of been the it plant for philodendron owners for a really, really long time, and there was no variegated version of it that at least was public knowledge until really, really recently. Everyone was paying $20,000, $30,000. One time I saw a huge 4 plant in one pot, like massive, I'm talking like almost 5 feet long leaves, huge. Sold for like $85,000 on eBay, and it was crazy. Spiritus Sancti, they're actually incredibly affordable and probably cheaper than most of your other houseplants, especially maybe even some of the more expensive varieties, like an Ilsamanii. Since the debut, variegated Spiritus Sancti, the normal Spiritus Sancti has quite literally all been kicked to the curb, which is crazy because it's just like this was the plant for like, you guys, decades, like probably longer than decades. Like for collectors, it was like everyone wanted it, so like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 sales all of the time, and people were just willing to pay it. And you guys want to know how much I saw a huge plant of a Spiritus Sancti for on sale the other day on Facebook in the Time to Splurge and Purge BST? I literally saw a full plant with 10 leaves that were at least 2 feet long and a new leaf coming in, listed for $600, which is just like, I feel so bad because I know that there are people still paying off their Spiritus Sanctis that they purchased back in 2019 or maybe even before, because most people don't just have $85,000 to give to someone, so they put it on their credit card or they do a payment plan with the seller and enter a formal contract. So there are 100% people still paying off their Spiritus Sancti, and these Spiritus Sanctis, which are probably larger than the one that they got for like $50,000, literally $660. It's just hilarious. It's like, oh my gosh, the plant depreciation value right now is like over 9,000. It is ridiculous. And again, like I said, I feel like we're kind of starting to go back up, but this is like in recent plant history before, I would say 2017, because plant collectors who've been collecting since before 2019, which is when I started collecting, and especially before 2020 when we had that massive influx, people would say 2015 to 16 was when prices started to get more expensive, and then it was like a 3-year slow ramp up until late 2019 and early 2020. And then the peak was late 2020, early 2021, and then it plateaued for 2022, and then now we're in 2023, right? Within about almost now, since we're in 2023, and the plant prices originally started rising in 2015 and 2016, within almost the last decade right now, we are at the lowest plant price, especially for these rare plants that have been incredibly inaccessible. But getting back onto topic of the variegated Spiritus Sancti, hasn't sold publicly that I am aware of for more than around $50,000. And again, that's probably not true, but the first person to sell them was Red Leaf Exotics. They're harder to propagate because their internodal spacing is really, really, really tight. So usually people prefer to not propagate them, which is why I feel like the price on this plant is gonna stay high for a really long time. I've seen no public sales outside of Red Leaf Exotics, so I haven't seen people reselling it, but it's also possible that I just haven't seen those posts. You can check the comment section down below to see if anyone else has seen. These are really, really gorgeously variegated. These plants they can be pink, they can be cream, they can be pure white, they can be mint. Like the variegation variety of options on the variegated Spiritus Sancti is truly, truly breathtaking. I mean, everyone has been wishing for a variegated Spiritus Sancti for years and years and years and years. And the ones that we got are so beautiful. It is definitely a plant I would like to own someday, like every single other person that exists who collects plants. Likely this plant will stay inaccessible to me, especially because the highest value plant I own is an Ilsamanii, which has always and will likely always stay at a pretty high price, but much farther below a variegated Spiritus Sancti by far, even older, bigger, mature plants. Just because of the fact that the Spiritus Sancti is new, like the variegated one, it is new, so the Ilsamanii has obviously been around for, gosh, hundreds of years. I don't know a lot of care about the variegated Spiritus Sancti. I do not know if it's different than the normal Spiritus Sancti. Very interesting thing, and I will link Red Leaf Exotics in the description as well. Well, I mean, obviously, because I'm using their photos. Yeah, I did see someone buy, and I've seen people posting photos of their variegated Spiritus Sancti on Facebook groups, so I know people have them, probably more than a couple people judging by the amount of plants that they were growing. The next one I want to talk about is the variegated Billietiae, which has probably been one of my biggest surprises as a plant collector, is like watching this plant kind of like move through time. The variegated Billietiae is a plant that I had. The time in which I got it was 2021, and I got it at a really unfortunate time. I did get my variegated Billietiae right before one of my lowest points, and I did kill my variegated Billietiae, that is one plant that is truly depressing. That I wasn't able to keep alive. This plant I know does grow decently fast as long as you're giving it the right growth conditions. I know that it is exactly the same as a Billietiae in its care, whereas you really don't want to let it keep wet feet, obviously. I don't remember what I was growing mine in. I feel like it was in moss and then I put it in soil. This plant, in terms of price, was always very expensive, and then it kind of like mellowed out. Now I feel like it's actually going back up in price, and I feel a big reason for that is because of variegated Billietiae and Billietiae in general. They're just also harder to propagate. Not as difficult as a Spiritus Sancti, but the internodal spacing on a Billietiae, if on a Spiritus Sancti it's like this, you know, pretty much almost like a thematophyllum or like a palm, like, I mean, they're literally on top of each other. On a Billietiae, it's kind of like this. So you kind of have to sacrifice a node every time you're cutting one, because you have to cut a node below, because otherwise it's just too short. So I feel like because of its difficulty in care generally, and then also its difficulty in propagation, this plant just hasn't come down in price, because like below $1,000 at least. I have never seen one sell for at least below like $1,500 for like a teeny tiny one. I just feel like it's because it's so hard to spread around. It's not like a Mikan, so I think it's still on a lot of people's wish list just because it is so unattainable because of its price. That's the variegated Billietiae. The next plant on this list is gonna be the strawberry shake, which is the other plant on this list that I have. And I've had various strawberry shakes in my care here and there. This one is brand new. My mom bought me this larger one. This plant, for price reference, was $180 at a local big box store. Not a Home Depot or a Lowe's. Big box store for where I live called Ziebzo's. Honestly, this has been on my wish list since I pretty much middle to late 2020, and I think I got one by doing a trade originally. This plant has now dropped in price drastically and is much more affordable. This tiny one in here, by the way, I got from Botanica's. The care for this is easy. This is very simply Philodendron erubescens, Philodendron pink princess, which is the same as a Philodendron red emerald. All of them are Philodendron erubescens, and this just happens to be one of my favorite. Oh, it's also the same as a red Anderson. Very easy to care for, incredibly easy. Just make sure that you're not burning the leaves. This plant also sun stresses very easily. I mean, it's just so gorgeous. I love plants that have like a red base layer, like a stem or a petiole, because they just provide this really, really nice like contrast of like cream and green and white, and it's just super, super nice. This plant started off being very, very expensive back in the day. And by back in the day, I mean like, oh gosh, I don't even know, a year ago, like even just a year ago. Strawberry shakes that were this big would cost you at least $800 to $1,000, even though it only has 3 leaves. You'd be paying anywhere from $500 to $700 for a single leaf strawberry shake, even a small one. I think the cheapest price I saw at that time for a shake was like $400 or $500. This was in that time where people were spending thousands of dollars on plants without even blinking, it felt like, because that was just the norm. And if you didn't have a plant, it was kind of like FOMO. This plant has still held on to its popularity, even though it is a lot less expensive now. Like I said, this huge one I got Not only was I able to find it in a big box store, but I was able to find it for less than $200. So yeah, it's also worth noting that this being in my Zamzos was the first time I've seen it offered in this area at all. I haven't seen any other store offer a shake for sale, including our local actual plant shops and boutiques. Right now, for small versions of this plant, in my area and cuttings, you can get shakes for anywhere from like $40 to $50. And you can get like rehab ones for like $20, but you won't find anything like this for less than, I think personally right now, even on Facebook, like $120, $130. And that's not even including good variegation. So you wanna make sure that you're getting good variegation. If I was getting this off of Facebook or like a local person here, I'd probably be paying $150 for this specific type of variegation because it's very high color. The stem is very high color, and this specific plant also has 14 nodes. So I plan to, and I'm not talking about the small one here, but I do plan to air layer this and then make a bunch of cuttings after they have roots and then make a huge strawberry shake, and it'll be really fun. Easily propagatable, has fallen in price a lot, but still remains absolutely immensely popular because of the gorgeousness of its variegation. Yeah, that's the strawberry shake. The next plant I want to talk about is actually two plants, and that's going to be the variegated green Congo and the variegated red Congo. I do believe that these are two different types of plants because one of them is naturally green and one of them is naturally pretty like burgundy. Both of these plants are really popular right now, and they're also very expensive. The first time I remember hearing about a green Congo was sometime in 2021 or 2022 when my friend Sydney was looking for one, and almost the only way to get them seems to be from importing. I personally, between the two, I'm a huge fan of the variegated red Congo. I would never want this or own it simply because of the fact that it's an upright philodendron, and I am not a fan of upright philodendron, but most people are. I don't like the growth pattern. I don't like usually the care required. I had a green Congo for like a year. I didn't really love it. I ended up rehoming it to someone else, I think for free. I don't know a lot about the care, and because of the fact that it's kind of a newer plant onto the market, I don't have a lot to tell you about the price, but I do know that the variegated red Congo is a lot more popular than the variegated green Congo, and that's kind of because of the difference between, a good example would be a white princess philodendron and a strawberry shake. The white princess has white and creams and greens and emeralds in it, whereas the shake has whites, creams, greens, pinks, oranges, burgundies, very bright, like that red color being added in plants, having the presence of white and pink and green in a plant always makes it more expensive and more popular. Yeah, the red Congo is definitely the most popular. The green Congo is also popular. A lot of people try to have both just because they're kind of like siblings, but yeah, that's the red Congo and the green Congo. The next one I want to talk about is really interesting and kind of surprising. Pink Princess is back with a complete revenge plot. First time that I actually saw some of these were the tissue culture Pink Princess at Botanica's in 2021, in December of 2021, which I think is when I was there last. Pink Princess was really popular in 2019 and 2020. It was completely inaccessible, and each plant was hundreds of dollars, getting into the thousands for a well-variegated one. And a lot of plant creators were making it really popular on Instagram and Facebook because of the bright pink that was present. Some people would edit their plant photos to make them look greener or pinker, and it was actually really difficult for me to find photos of the Pink Princess Galaxy because of the fact that people on Instagram edit their photos so much. They don't even look good. It just looks like you turned up the saturation to 500 million%. Your skin is orange and the plant looks neon, and it doesn't even like look real. I don't know if this plant is tissue culture or not tissue culture, but I personally feel like it is. I feel like there's a lot of evidence to support that it is. It reminds me a lot of the Thai constellation, which is a monstera, which is tissue culture, and it has a much more stable variegation pattern that people refer to looking like a constellation or a galaxy. So the Pink Princess Galaxy, I feel like, is tissue cultured, pink princesses that have grown up and are now big girl plants and are now selling as a new variety, which it kind of technically is if it's been tissue cultured, but we didn't need to get into that. But yeah, this variegation pattern is incredibly stable across all of the leaves. They all pretty much, while having a different pattern each leaf and sometimes having sections, they're very constellation-y. They remind me of a Thai constellation. I feel like they're tissue culture plants, which is actually hilarious because most people hate tissue culture plants, and so I bet most people haven't even thought about it. I personally am indifferent to this pattern. I think some of them are pretty, but I also am indifferent to the Thai constellation pattern, so I'm not really surprised. And in tandem with talking about the Pink Princess Galaxy, which is not that expensive, by the way. I did not talk about prices, sorry. They're not that expensive. They're maybe anywhere from like $80 to $120. Pretty accessible in terms of what you consider currently accessible for plants. It's not as cheap as normal Pink Princess, which you can literally get for free now, or like $5 to $10. In tandem though with this plant, I do want to talk about Philodendron Orange Princess, which you may not have heard of before. I had not. The Orange Princess, originally when I was told about it, I didn't think about it because when I looked it up, it really just kind of looks like a pink princess that someone just kind of like maybe changed the filter to be orange. And I don't know any of the science behind it. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it is a tissue culture or a variety of pink princess, but the Orange Princess is quite literally a pink princess, which is orange and can also have this galaxy or marble pattern, which does make me think, especially because of its color, that it is tissue culture as well. But some people, when they list Pink Princess Galaxy for sale, they also call it a Orange Princess, which from what I have learned is inaccurate because I do not believe that they are the same plant. If you're selling a plant as an Orange Princess, it's gotta be orange. You can't just have that galaxy variegation pattern and it's like kind of a bright pink and so you call it orange. It's kind of like saying Red Anderson and Pink Princess are the same thing. The variegation pattern is different even though they're both Philodendron erubescens. Pink Princess and Orange Princess are obviously also both Philodendron erubescens. The variegation pattern is distinctively different, so you can't call them the same thing unless the Orange Princess is a sport that they have harnessed the power of the pink galaxy, but only a couple listings I saw did do that. This plant is quite notably very expensive. I saw some listings for over $2,000. I saw some listings for no cheaper than $350 to $400 for a plant that looks like an adult-sized plant. Even for small ones, I haven't seen anything for less than like $200. I do know if you're curious and you do want to get one, Botanicas does have them. I did find them on their Etsy, notably, and you know, we love Botanicas here. You definitely can find them there if you're looking for like a reputable seller. I just thought it was really interesting because this plant is just a different color, like different colorway of the same thing we've been having forever. All these different Philodendron I should do a video about popular Philodendron erubescens. Is so many different kinds and variegation styles of the exact same plant. It's amazing. I fucking love it. I think that the plant is pretty. I don't think I would own one. It does depend though, because the first time I looked at photos, I didn't think it was cute. Then when I was doing more research on them, once I realized it was a real plant and not just a fake name someone gave a pink princess, I did start to like them more. I did kind of start to think that they were kind of cute, but plants have to be much more than just kind of cute to me. I have to like their growth pattern, I have to like their care. So that is the Philodendron Orange Princess. Now I'm going to talk to you about the Philodendron Caramel Marble. And originally on my list, I was gonna tell you about the Philodendron Ring of Fire. I realized that all of the photos of the Ring of Fires that I was seeing were actually caramel marbles because I wasn't seeing any captions or like descriptions on photos. I was just seeing plant and I would be like, oh, Ring of Fire. I have only personally owned very highly variegated Ring of Fires, but shape is different, and I do believe that Ring of Fire is a different species of philodendron than the caramel marble. The Philodendron Caramel Marble has been around for a really long time, and it was a very expensive, very popular plant before I ever got into plants. This is kind of one of those plant unicorns people talk about that you'll probably never own and you'll only just admire photos of. The reason I have never really been a huge fan of this plant is because most of the ones that I have seen for sale are very brown and gross looking, like very muddy. Philodendron Strawberry Shake can also get pretty muddy, well, which is why when I first saw those, I was also kind of of hesitant, though I realized that I was just seeing the wrong photos. And that's kind of what I've realized now, is I think that over the last couple of years, only the more desirable colorways of the caramel marbles have been in circulation. That less desirable brown isn't really there, which is interesting because I do think that they originally called it caramel marble because it was just pretty brown, and caramel color is brown, kind of. It's like a variety of beige, brown, tan spectrum. Now they're very colorful. They can kind of also have a similar vibe to a shake and the Red Congo, Variegated Red Congo. Red, pink, orange, cream, white, green, light green, emerald, mint. The orange is a super prevalent part on the caramel marbles that people really like. And sectoral variegation as compared to more of a spotted Thai constellation-y type of variegation is much less popular when it comes to this specific type of plant. Something else that I noticed is that these are almost just as expensive as they have been the whole time. I do want to bring back my hypothesis about plants that are less easy to propagate, maintaining their popularity and rarity and inaccessibility over plants which are much more easy to obtain. The caramel marbles, like the red and green Congos, are an upright philodendron. They don't necessarily climb, they crawl. But they're gonna crawl on their way to getting there instead of growing taller faster. So these plants they stay pretty small. And I think that because of the fact that the nodes, again, are so close together on a caramel marble, there's very little internodal stem there. It's pretty much just node, 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 node. Very difficult to propagate, similar to a ring of fire. Ring of fires are easier to propagate, but they're also just very difficult to propagate in general. And I have multiple friends who have actually killed their cuttings, like almost all their cuttings of ring of fires that they've tried to propagate. And caramel marble, I believe, has a tighter node situation than the ring of fire. These plants, you can still find them anywhere from $500 for a small one or maybe a cutting to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for a very large one with a very highly desirable colorway. There also are some more sparse sellers on Facebook who sell them for a lot cheaper, but it really just does depend on what you're looking for, how long you're willing to wait for it, who you're gonna buy it from. Caramel marble is one of the plants out of this whole list which had the least consistent price that I was able to find. Yeah, that's the philodendron caramel marble. This plant has started to become cute to me, and I think it's just because I like ring of fire. I had one I actually sold not too long ago, I think a couple months ago, when I was pregnant and sick and I couldn't take care of anything. But I think that I could find a ring of fire, which ring of fires are anywhere from like $24 to $60, maybe $100 for a really big one. I do think I could find a ring of fire. I personally prefer the mature leaf shape on a ring of fire to a caramel marble. Yeah, that's the caramel marble. And the final plant I want to talk about in this video is going to be the variegated Philodendron Gloriosum. And this plant became really, really, really popular sometime, I think in late 2021 or early 2022. I really feel like it was 2021 though. Most of the variegated Gloriosum I've seen have very minimal variegation, go from leaf to leaf, and a lot of them will revert. But if you're willing to shell out a little bit of coin, you can find a very desirable looking Philodendron Gloriosum. And I actually learned a lot about this plant when I was doing the research for this video, and this one was the most surprising to me variegation wise, because when this plant first was kind of becoming popular in 2021, the variegation was not very high in the plants that were being sold. Because of that, to me, it wasn't very desirable. The way that people have been able to cater this plant's growth for the last couple years now, some of these plants are gorgeous. I mean, completely jaw-dropping. You'll have marbled leaves, and it's kind of giving Monstera albo with the different shades of green. I would love to see someone post a photo of a mint Gloriosum. I'm sure that one exists out there. But I would love to see people sell those ones because that is a very popular colorway, one that's never really gone out of style. And I think that it would be cool to see. I haven't seen one though. So that would be super, super cool. Variegated Gloriosum. Very expensive, very hard for me to find prices, mostly accessible like the red and green Congo. From overseas, Gloriosum do not grow very fast. They can take a year to put out just a couple of leaves. They also have decently close internodal spacing. They do have some internodal stems, so they're not as tight as an upright philodendron, but this plant, from what I have seen from people, especially the variegated one, is much more difficult to propagate than the standard variegated than the standard Gloriosum. This plant also has a varying price range. I couldn't find a whole lot of information on pricing. I don't know why it was so difficult. I feel like these aren't sold that much, and if they are, it's probably by auction or private sell. I haven't seen any for less than $500, $600, $700. But I also could just be looking in completely the wrong place. Yeah, and you guys, that's about it. There's a lot more variegated popular philodendron. Notable ones I did want to originally talk about, but then changed my mind because I wanted to talk a lot. Like, this is a pretty long video, and I wanted to talk a lot about the plants which I spoke about because I feel like these ones are the most noteworthy for where we are right now in the plant community in 2023. Honorable mentions, though, are going to be the Philodendron Florida Beauty, Philodendron ilsamanii, the Variegated Philodendron, and the Variegated Melanochrysum, and the Ring of Fire. Those are super, super, super honorable mentions for plants that are very popular right now. Not quite as popular as the ones that I just listed, except for maybe the ilsamanii. I have seen way less hype for that than all of the other ones. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is a very long video, probably somewhere around 40 minutes. If you watched the whole thing, thank you very much for your time. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe, leave a permanent comment. I'm putting a lot of work into my videos, including finding music and trying to edit them so that they're interesting to watch and not just music playing the whole time. No cuts, and it's just kind of me talking, which is totally fine content. I just personally, as an ADHD person, I want to see like cuts in and cuts out, music breaks for like a funny moment. I'm really trying. I hope that you're liking these videos. I thought I was gonna have to start all the way over by getting 0 views on videos because I took so much time off, and I mean, I was bleeding subscribers. I've probably lost almost 1,000 subscribers. I did have 35,400. Now we are barely holding on to 34,000. So I guess we've lost over 1,000 subscribers in the past 8 months or so, maybe, because I kind of stopped posting a lot and then got pregnant and then didn't post almost at all. So if you're curious, I am still making maternity content. I have a really long video to make. I just haven't had the motivation for it. I've been much more inspired by the plant things, but I am gonna be making probably 1 or 2 videos a month ideally, which will probably come out on the weekends just because I want to save my prime time, which is when you guys really watch my videos the most, which is Monday through Friday. That is gonna be it. Like I said, thank you so much for watching. Check out the Discord, it's free to join. Check out the memberships, they're pretty affordable and support me so much. Thank you for watching. Okay. Yeah, we did it. Long video. She's doing a lot of hard work right now, you guys. This was the filming situation, by the way. She was here the entire time. She didn't move when I did the setup. Oh, little lady. She's so unbothered by these plants, you guys. She doesn't bite them at all. Literally, she was sitting with this specific leaf right here on her head for like 15 minutes. It was just on her head. Vivian, you're doing a good job. Good kitty.